Now it makes perfect sense why this man was so comfortable saying this publicly.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community.
What exactly would give a white man the audacity to believe he has the ability to determine what black people qualify as black and what black people do not? It makes perfect sense if this person views black people as property, because this is how the Democratic coalition has always viewed black people, because quite literally, historically speaking, we were their property. In the 1800s, the Democratic Party was founded to preserve and to spread slavery. This is because the Democratic Party was founded by Southerners whose economy depended on slavery. This wasn't the case in the North, where the economy was not built on slavery, neither did it depend on slavery. It was built on industry. And this is where years later, the Republican Party was founded in direct opposition to the Democratic Party. The Republican Party was founded as the party that wanted to stop the spread of slavery and ultimately abolish it. When Abraham Lincoln, who was a Republican, became president and wanted to free every black American from slavery, the Democratic Party decided to break away from the United States, forming the Confederacy. Yeah, you know those Confederate flags that we associate with white supremacy and racism? Yeah, that was literally the Democratic Party. These were Southerners who depended on slavery. This is why the Civil War was fought between the Confederacy of the Democratic Coalition and between the Union, or the remaining United States. Abraham Lincoln, in his own words, said everybody knew that this interest was the cause of this war. Black Americans fought alongside white Americans on the Union for their freedom against the Confederacy, and many black and white Americans died in this war to free black enslaved people. Now, there were some Democrats who fought alongside the Union, but their interest was not to end slavery. It was because they wanted the United States to remain together. When the Confederacy or the Democratic coalition or party lost the Civil War, freeing all enslaved black people, and Reconstruction that was passed once again by Republicans to introduce black Americans into society. How did Democrats respond? Establishing the Jim Crow laws. Basically, okay, we can be equal, but you're going to be separate. Once the first black Americans became congressmen, who needless to say were all Republicans, and begin to have political power in America, the Democrats founded the KKK, a terror organization aimed to terrorize black Americans and intimidate them from voting. Democrats also created poll taxes that black Americans couldn't afford, created unfair literacy tests at poll stations that many black people couldn't pass, and put in place grandfather clauses that prevented anybody from being able to vote unless their grandfathers voted before the Civil War, nearly excluding every black person. These were all Democratic tactics to keep black Americans from voting. What did the Republican Party do? They released federal troops to dismantle the KKK, and black people reclaimed their voting power. Republicans passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, giving black people freedom, the right to equality, and the right to vote. Republicans also drew up the 1957 Civil Rights Act, 1960 Civil Rights Act, and passed both of these with overwhelming Republican support and most of the opposition coming from the Democratic Party. The 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is the famous one, often associated with Lyndon B. Johnson. But do you know that the reason that act passed was because of Republican support? Most of the opposition came from the Democratic Party. They held the longest filibuster in United States history to stop that act from going through. Democrats did everything they possibly could to keep us enslaved, to oppress us, to separate us, and to stop our power in the United States. It wasn't until the jail incident with MLK in the 1960s, who grew up in a Republican household. Yes, his father, Martin Luther King Sr., was a lifelong Republican, that Martin Luther King Jr. chose to leave the Republican Party and to affiliate himself with the Democratic Party, and all of black America followed him. His decision was not based on lifelong loyalty from this party. It wasn't based on the proven track record of this party. It was based on an emotional decision of who helped him get out of jail. Black Americans realigned, and from that point forward, because of federal assistance, welfare programs, and so on and so forth, all passed by Democrats, our community has been crippled and we have become dependent on the Democratic Party. So quite literally, we were their property when we were slaves in chains. And today, many black Americans are still the property of Democrats. We are dependent on them. So we are in mental chains. With this history, does it make sense why Joe Biden,
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black?
they see black people as their property? They believe we belong to them. They know how they have trapped us in dependency. I talk about all of this and more in detail in my book, How the Democrats Won the Blacks from Physical to Mental Slavery. This book is about telling the true history of black Americans and our realignment from the Republican to the Democratic Party and what events really took place. Many times this history is misconstrued. It's oversimplified and just plainly twisted. If you want to learn the true history that was not taught to us in school, my book is available for pre-order on Amazon right now. You can find the link in my bio or just simply comment the word book and I'll send the link right to your DM. As always, God bless, protect, and keep you.